I love this feeling that the rage is really what motivated me to say to the doctor, you know, Doc, I think I even smiled. I probably did because I smile a lot. I said, you know, Doc, I'm going to take care of this myself. And that, his reaction, this tall, kind of hefty Cuban-American man in Miami, 1975, he walked out of the office and he slammed a big, thick door, wooden door, while I was still sitting in that office. I pissed him off.
Welcome to the Radical Health Rebel podcast with your host, Leigh Brandon. If you enjoy the podcast, please leave a 5-star rating and a warm review. And now, here is Leigh, the Radical Health Rebel, with this week's podcast.
Ayn Schneider, welcome to the Radical Health Rebel podcast. How are you?
I'm great. Thank you so much for inviting me.
It's great for you to be here. So today's episode is entitled Cancer, Healed Holistically with the Power of Rage. Today in the Western world, 50% of the population will contract cancer at some point in their life, and 50% of those people will not survive their diagnosis. We're led to believe that science and medicine are making great advances in cancer treatments paid for by the public via tax payments, medical insurance, and well-meaning charitable donations. However, the reality of the situation and the data doesn't back up this belief. The global cancer therapy market was valued at $158 billion in 2020 and is expected to reach $268 billion in 2026. The standard medical approaches to treating cancer are chemotherapy, radiotherapy, and surgery. And whilst in some desperate late stages these treatments may have their place, they are known to cause and spread tumours in the body, and they do not address the root cause of the disease, which is why cancer often returns after a so-called successful treatment and often returns more aggressively. So I'm really pleased to have you, Jill, a cancer survivor, on the Radical Health Rebel podcast. So to kick things off, I'd love the Radical Health Rebel audience to get to know you. So can you tell us about your upbringing, your background, and also your own cancer story?
Okay. Thank you so much for having me. Wow. Let me just take a little drink here. I'm 77 years old. When I was 29, I had just returned from India, where I studied meditation, and I was told that I had malignant cervical cancer. I didn't feel sick. I just went for a checkup, and that's what the doctor told me with one test, and then I had to take another test. He said, it's conclusively malignant. You've got to be in the hospital next week, and probably it's going to be a hysterectomy, cervical cancer. Mm-hmm. I have always questioned, okay, and maybe I didn't do great in school with grades and stuff like that because I'm also very social and I like people, and I had many different friends growing up in a suburb of New York City. Mm-hmm. And at that time, I have to say, all of my teachers were amazing. They were so highly educated. They were graduates of the best universities. And my friends, were nice kids, I didn't know anything about drugs in those years. I graduated high school in 1962 and then went on to college and graduated college and became a school teacher. My parents wanted me to be a little school teacher, and I liked kids. So I thought, okay, I'll do that. Mm-hmm. Which has given me a wonderful foundation, because here are these little 6, 7, 8-year-old children questioning everything. And that's our natural propensity, is to question and want to learn, because we want to learn. We want to learn more. And it's not about pieces of paper and pencils and pens and taking tests and all that. I had them young enough that, and at a time when the schools were not so rigid. Okay. And an interesting story, when I was a school teacher, I got to train with two lovely, incredibly intelligent women from Leicestershire. Did I say that right? Okay. And they were my mentors. And they had a way of approaching a child, very much an individualistic kind of approach, where they would just say to the child, "How you doing? What do you love? What'd you do yesterday?" To get the children talking. And these were, maybe kindergarten, first grade, they not really readers yet. And then from there, they would take the child from his angle into some skills, just with some questions that they would ask him or her. And the child would begin to speak and to really be excited that somebody was interested in who they were and what they were passionate about. So that experience, which was a maybe 3 or 4 year training period, was an incredible foundation for me, because even as a coach now, I have a way of throwing a question to this person who has cancer. And that question leads to an unfolding of the root cause of the cancer. So that is really my specialty. And I pretty much, that was my background. I'm also a musician. I picked up a guitar in 1966, and I have not put it down. And now I have 5 of them and a recording studio. And so I'm writing about this story of how I healed myself of cancer. And it's called Cancer, Holistically Healed with the Power of Rage. I love this feeling that the rage is really what motivated me to say to the doctor, Doc, I think I even smiled. I probably did, because I smile a lot. I said, Doc, I'm going to take care of this myself. And that, his reaction, this tall, kind of hefty Cuban-American man in Miami, 1975, he walked out of the office and he slammed a big, thick door, wooden door, while I was still sitting in that office. I pissed him off. I don't normally go around wanting to piss people off, but I told my truth. And I knew that I would be able to heal whatever they told me I had. I was in the process of studying Chinese medicine at the time. It was an introductory class. A man named Dr. Ralph Allen Dale was teaching it. He had just come back from China. He was very excited. We were putting needles into oranges. And then when I spoke with him about my situation, he introduced me to this wonderful, oh my God, a little Chinese man, a long gray beard. When that man opened up the door of his little clinic, I think he might have still been in his pajamas. I'm not sure. But he just looked at me deeply, right into my eyes. And he said, "No problem, I fix." I don't think he spoke any more English than that. I got lucky. But I guess I also create that luck because I was just, whoa. The night of the day that I found out that I had cancer, I was performing on a radio station in Miami. And my lead guy, my partner, picked me up. "Oh, how was your day?" "Oh, yeah, I found out I have cancer." He said, "Are you okay?" I said, "Yeah, I'll be fine." But when I got to the studio, there was an opportunity for me to just sit and meditate, and I did. And I asked and I prayed. I prayed to that place within myself that is pure, that is full of hope, that is full of trust. And I said, "God, please take this, any fear, any inkling of fear away, because I'm not going to sound so good." Mm-hmm. So there was the vanity first, then came the rage, or a little bit of both. But it's just been a great ride, and it has designed for me a life of truly caring about my body and truly being grateful. And one of the chapters in my book is called Gratitude for Cancer, and thanking God for cancer. Most people would think, "Oh my God, she's really off the wall here." But no, I think we have to get to that point where that energy that has given us this breath, it's not a religious God that I'm talking about. I grew up Jewish. You never heard the word God used in my house at all. In fact, when I came back from India just before I got that diagnosis, my parents were not appreciating my ideas and my speech about God. They didn't, but I was feeling it. It's a feeling. It's nothing. It can't be intellectualized, and it's not a belief. Honestly, I don't believe in God. I have no belief in God, but I know a feeling. Okay? I know that feeling of being encased in a cocoon of love, in a cocoon of healing that I need every day. Every day I need this love. And you know what? I never got lonely. I live alone. I have a few friends. We hang out once in a while, 2-3 times a week. Most of the time I'm alone. I love my aloneness. That's where I can create without distraction. And being a musician and being a writer. And then I'm technical. So it's a good combination. And I don't have, I don't trust in the system of medicine because they're run by pharmaceutical companies. So I remember when they tested me, I never got a biopsy. I had 2 pap tests that were number 5. And number 1 was normal. But if you had number 5, you were up Schitt's Creek. Okay? Now, number 1 is not normal. Because I get calls from people and they tell me, "Oh, Jill, I'm a 1B, I'm a 1C. You're just like, oh my God, the brainwashing. I can't, to me, I'm a common sense kind of person. Those first few years, 10 years of teaching school with little kids, if you don't learn some common sense from them, then you'll be an idiot the rest of your life.
Something you said earlier on is that you've always been someone who's questioned things. Where do you think that comes from within you? Where did you get that from?
I think it was natural, and I was allowed. It didn't come from my parents, okay? In front of my parents, I was a piece of furniture. Except my dad. My dad was silly, and he would play with me, and he would, we were affectionate. But everything else was about the almighty dollar. And so I got very lucky because my parents were able to have a housekeeper who was a very interesting, uneducated woman, part Black, part Cherokee Indian, and part German Jewish. And she was with my family for 10 years. And she was in the room next to me from the time I was 2. And then she moved with us when I was 10 for another 2 years. And I really believe she was my she was my maternal, the real maternal mother, because my mother didn't have the mother instinct at all. So this woman she would, like, in our backyard, there was grass, little garden. And then behind that were some reeds, okay? And it was at the beach. We were 2 blocks from the ocean, the Atlantic Ocean in Long Island. And she would just say, just go play. And I would go I was like 2, 3 years old, and I would just go into the reeds without any fear. I could hear her voice as she was putting clothes on the line. And when I got tired, I would just lay down like animals do. I would just put the reeds down, make a bed for myself, and take a nap. And that could be like an hour would go by. And she was humming. She'd always be singing. I got my music thing from her. And she grew up in the Deep South, actually not far from where I am now. I'm on Cherokee land. So her energy is really strong. She's really happy that I'm living here. I'm also a medium, by the way.
So do you think it was your early interactions with her that gave you the
questioning, the freedom,
the ability to question, what might be considered authority, I guess?
Yeah. But I throughout school, I think I remember one incident in 8th grade when it was a math teacher, and I think I might have questioned a grade or something. And you sent me to the principal's office and, that kind of stuff. But that was the only time in high school. And, especially a doctor, you're not going to, but by the time I was 29, I had also spent, those were the years, Greenwich Village in New York, lived with all the, got involved with artists and musicians and other teachers and interesting people in those years. Very interesting people. I mean, I saw Bob Dylan before he even made it. And then...
So sorry to interrupt. So the year you were diagnosed with cancer was 1975.
Yes.
What was kind of going on for you in your life from kind of 1970 until around that time?
It was a very tumultuous time. We were wondering what the fuck was going on in the world. the Vietnam War, our leaders being assassinated, the great leaders, the greatest ones, the ones that we love the most. No, I was it was a rough awakening to the reality that this is not good. This is not what we want. And we were rebelling. Okay. And I was just sharing with a friend who's a writer and she's also a shaman. And she's got many books. And I said, you got to just create a series and that kind of stuff. You've already written everything, so just put it in a series and market it. And I was telling her about a man named Carlos Castaneda. And Carlos Castaneda was this amazing man who wrote a huge series of books.
Thanks for watching the Radical Health Rebel YouTube channel. If you enjoyed this video, please be sure to share with your friends and family or share via your social media. Hit the like button, subscribe to the channel, and hit the bell icon to receive notifications of new video clips from the podcast. And if you want to watch the full episode, completely ad-free, plus premium content, and join the Radical Health Rebel Patreon community, head on over to the Radical Health Rebel Patreon channel at www.patreon.com/Radical Health Rebel. Thanks again for watching.